Geometry Dash level creating. Something so neglected by the average player, but yet so incredibly revolutionary to the platform. I mean, if none of this existed, Geometry Dash wouldn't even exist anymore. So of course, I wanted to leave my own mark in the Geometry Dash community and make something meaningful. I made level after level after level, but still, none of them came close to being featured and all of them had their flaws. So, one day, I decided that I would make a level so good that it would just have to be rated, and it would be known as Adventure Awaits. Now, it didn't take long before I finished the layout of my level. I tested it and made some adjustments until I was eventually satisfied. I tried to come up with some unique coin placements such as this one, where you have to enter the green portal in normal gravity as the swingcopter to get sent up and into the coin. And this coin that uses a touch trigger designed so that you can only get to it if you're holding down. All this for 1 minute and 18 seconds of gameplay. However, this is where most people would usually stop, as evident by the sheer amount of layouts in the recent tab. And honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, who would want to put hours and hours of grueling effort to create a level actually worthy of RobTop's attention? Well, a lot of people actually, but also not really. But I was one of those people who wanted to grab hold of those creator points, so I kept moving forward, using all of my previous skill and knowledge alongside references to begin creating. Now you might be wondering what the chosen theme of this level was, and because I wanted to be unique, I decided to combine 10 different themes together for an adventurous journey. However, this decision would come to haunt me later on. But coming back to the level, I decided to make the first section a sunset themed and also night themed. You see, I had an idea. At this point in time, it was early 2.2 and not many people had made much use of the random trigger. So I had the idea of using a random trigger to randomly toggle between two different themes every time the player restarted, and it actually ended up working really well. I added the sun and moon decorations alongside a sun and full moon, which would transition to the next section, which was sci-fi themed. This section was probably the most challenging gameplay wise, as you're going max speed while having to do all these clicks. I added all these cool futuristic buildings, these fans that act as force blocks, and glow to help bring it to life. The next theme I settled on was steampunk. Here I added many gear decorations and this moving platform. I tried to get creative with the transition, so I made this transition where the clock breaks into many pieces as the screen fades to black, transitioning into the next section, which was spooky themed. Here I made the camera slightly rotate as you scurry through this haunted building with teeth and stone decorations, with there being this monster at the end that you have to spam through. The next section, however, takes a completely different theme, that being snowy and mountain themed, with fog and mountains in the background and snow and ice covering the section. This was a section I had to make the most changes to, as it was incredibly annoying to get the fog to look right and to make the block design not look plain. But regardless, I came up with this cool transition where you break through the ice and into the ocean themed section. In here, the player will encounter many fish and colorful pearls that decorate the place, along with some neat seaweed, which then transitions using the rocky foreground at the top sliding down, revealing the hidden forest that was there all along. Here there are many trees and thorny bushes the player must avoid. Oh, and also this little guy. When you get to the end of the section, there's this little opening that leads into a secret cave. Except it isn't just any cave, it's a lava-infested volcano. In this section, I made different shades of rock formations for the background and foreground, as well as adding some crystals to bring some more color to it. Now this section had my favorite transition out of all of them. I thought it would be cool if the player got shot up and out of the volcano, so I designed just that, making the lava quickly rise as the player shoots up and into the next section, which was space themed. This section was by far the longest out of them all and the most tedious, it having multiple different backgrounds and block designs just for one theme. But regardless, I managed to pull through and create this black hole, these stars, these planets, and these effects. At the end of it, the player falls into a pit of darkness, which leads us to the final section. Now, this section was a little different than the other ones. It didn't have a clear adventurous theme. It was originally supposed to be Abyss themed, but I sorta ended up combining Abyss with an effect theme, with the black and white moving patterns and objects at the top and bottom, each representing one of my passions. The outro image was this ocean sunset I recreated from an online image with a list of those who helped me along the way. Except, actually building the entire level wasn't as smooth and simple as it may have seemed. You see, there was a big issue when making this level. A few issues, actually. Remember when I said my decision to incorporate many different themes together would come back to haunt me? I started making the level January of 2024, right after 2.2 was released. Now, I had only planned for this level to take maybe 2 or 3 months to make, giving me around 2 weeks per section. In my mind, 2 weeks seemed like enough time for each section. But in actuality, I was very wrong. I finished the first section a month after I began, second also taking a month, and the third taking 2 months to finish. And then eventually it took 3 whole months just for one section. Time kept adding up as the level kept getting pushed further and further back. My priorities constantly shifted from making YouTube videos into level creating. I spent hours upon hours of adding every little detail, every background, every block design, every effect in every section, over and over again. But then, once I finally finished the section, I had to go back and make minor adjustments, whether it was the glow being too bright, the color contrast not looking how I wanted it to, something that just looked plain or messy. My motivation spiraled downwards. I couldn't finish the level. I didn't want to continue it. I wanted so badly for it all to be over. But I couldn't stop now. I had already come this far and had to keep going. Eventually, the level was uploaded mid-January of 2025. A whole year after I started it. The time in editor, 202 hours and 57 minutes. That's a whopping 127 hours more than my previous biggest project. Now, despite the amount of mental pain and effort it took to make this level, I'm proud of how it turned out. And I mean, hey, I even learned a few things. The first, and probably the most obvious thing I learned, is not to combine 10 different themes into a single level. I knew that most levels were supposed to be one main theme anyway, but I thought I was being unique by combining a bunch of different themes into one adventure. But ultimately, it just destroyed me in the long run. The second mistake I learned from is jumping too much in level quality. Now what I mean is attempting to jump from making messy, barely rate-worthy levels, like some of my previous projects, to an epic rated level. And yes, when I was originally making this, I was aiming for an epic rating, but now most people seem to agree that it's only feature-worthy. Another mistake I made was not planning out the details clearly enough. Although I had the themes planned out in some of the transitions, it would have helped a lot if I got more specific about what details and what specific styles relating to each section I wanted to use. Another thing I definitely should have done is used more layers. If you look at most online levels, they tend to use a lot of different layers for every little detail that they add. While in my level, well, I only used 13 different layers in total, because for some reason, I thought it would be better to save layers and to just compact the details together. So I hope you can learn from my mistakes and what not to do when creating levels. But you might be wondering, what became of my level? Now, part of the reason this video is being made a whole 7 months after the level got released is because I wanted to make this level after it got rated. And, well, it still hasn't been rated yet, despite it being sent by like 6 mods. That's right, I've been spending the past 7 months sending my level to request streams and request channels in hopes of it getting played and rated, and still no luck. I wish I could end this video saying that my 200-hour project finally paid off, but it hasn't yet. And you know what? That's okay, because I'm not going to give up just yet. I'm going to keep sending my level to moderators until it gets featured, or at least until every single one of them has reviewed my level. And you know what? Even if it doesn't get rated, at least I can be proud of what I've accomplished. So yes, the rating system has some serious issues, the main one being how random it is that RopTop will be rating levels around the same time yours get sent. I think it would help a lot if RopTop wasn't the only one rating levels, or if there was a higher priority list for levels that got sent multiple times. But none of this is particularly his fault, so I don't want you guys to write hateful comments about how rigged the system is. RopTop is a busy man, and he legitimately doesn't have time to rate all of our levels. And yes, this issue should be addressed, but it's not all his fault. And with that, I'd like to end this video off. I hope you learned a few things from this video, and to anyone out there who is going through a similar situation, I hope I've given you the courage to keep pushing forward, because eventually you will get recognized for your creating skill. And once you do, you'll finally obtain your first creator points.